Hello, I'm Dr. Harper. This video is in Management of Operations, BUSN 6630, Section 01, Spring 2021, and this is just an introduction to Memo 3, just an overview of the computation to help with the memo assignment in aggregate planning. So first, let's bring up the memo. And in the memo, Crawford Manufacturing is preparing their monthly production plan for one of their major products for the next year and requested assistance in determining possible plans of action. They have traditionally used level capacity with overtime, and so I say they have traditionally used level capacity with overtime. Let me highlight that because that's going to be important. There we go. But members of the planning committee would like to compare current production strategies, levelized capacity, with alternative production plans. Two have been suggested. One is simply a minimum cost production plan, so that's one they want to compare levelized with. Some feel the current amount of overtime is unreasonable due to the level strategy and argue that considerable savings could be realized if overtime was reduced. The second alternative reduces inventory to a minimum. They want to compare that with level. Some argue that the flexibility of the current production capacity allows for reducing the cost due to carrying inventory. The president would like to see a comparative analysis, and so right here the president would like to see a comparative analysis before a decision is finalized. She requested us to provide a comparative analysis, and I said we could provide her with a quality analysis. So on these memos, read them very carefully, find out what they're asking. They're asking for a comparative analysis. They're not asking for an optimal solution. Now that may be part of the comparative analysis, but the comparative analysis is what they want, is what they are looking for. Okay, so let's look at the problem and let's see how to analyze the problem to determine the level capacity, minimum cost, minimum inventory. Those are the three. Okay, Crawford has provided us with the following information. So let's bring up Excel and let me go through it and set it up for you. First of all, the labor standard is 80 minutes per unit. So I put that up here, labor standard 80 minutes per unit. Record time labor cost is $30 per hour. And that's down here. Here they are, direct labor cost right here. So the record time is $30 per hour times the labor standard will give us the $40 per unit. Because the $40 is coming down here, that's what I'm going to multiply my units by to get my total cost. That's my record time cost per unit of production. And let's see, overtime is $45 an hour. So that's here. Again, times my labor standard is 60. And you can see here I've used this, but I converted the minutes to hours and then multiply times 45 to get the $60 per unit. And that's going to go down here for my overtime, down here. Okay, and what else? The FTE time standard is 520 hours, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks, 12 months in a year. For planning purposes, next year they will begin the year with 2,000 and have targeted the ending annual inventory of 1,500. So they're reducing it for some reason. So start with 2,000 and the target at the ending inventory is going to be 1,500. Okay. The record time production is 35 FTEs per month, a cap. So if they have 35 per month, we had to take this labor standard and remember and create our production or determine our production standard. And if you notice here, our production standard, you can see it up here, is you're taking your FTE time standard, which is 2080 a year over 12 to get my monthly time standard, divided by my labor standard in minutes. We have to convert that to hours. And we're going to have a total of 130 units per month. That's our production standard. Okay? And so the record time of 35 then Well, then down here we have 35. Notice what we have here. The regular time maximum then is going to be 35 times the 130 per month gives 45.50 per month. Okay, and we can see the calculations there. Okay, and then using the labor standard with the which is 40 hours a week. Okay, so we have 45.50 is the regular time maximum. Okay, the overtime is limited to 25% of the regular time production each month. So I have that here in the column. Notice each one of these, I'm saying, okay, it's 25% of my regular time, whatever that is. And notice I do the same thing as we go down each time. Okay, and then since labor hours per week are flexible, there is no hiring and firing cost considered. For this analysis, only considered cost due to regular time, overtime, inventory. So I have overtime here, regular time, overtime, inventory. That determines my total cost. So that's when there's where I'm determining my total cost, and my minimum cost plan will be minimizing that. I take my demand here and I type it in. I've already done that for you right there. I've done that already, typed it in. Okay, and then when we set this thing up, we have to be very, very careful that here's our FTEs, and you notice that the FTEs here, these are going to represent our overtime, our regular time, okay, but our regular time and overtime, they're going to be our decision variables. And the regular time is going to have this constraint, the regular time is going to have this constraint. And then my ending inventory here, you can see that it's going to have my regular time, overtime, and demand over here. So that's really my setup. That's really all I need, and that's all I'm doing. I have the FTEs here just to know what our capacity is, because that's going to be our level capacity. We're going to make all those 35. Or the regular time is all going to be 45.50. We'll do that in a minute. So the idea here, so let's enlarge this. So now this is going to be our minimum cost. If I go to solver, I solve it, and notice here's my objective function, and then my decision variables are regular time and overtime. My first constraint here is E and G. It's going to be my regular time is less than my regular time max. The next one is my overtime is less than or equal to my overtime max of 25% of regular time. And then my ending inventory is non-negative, and then I have my target. Okay, and then I say solve. It solves it, and there's my total cost. $2.5 million, $2.505 million. Okay, now the other two, if you recall, the other two they're looking at is that's the minimum cost production plan. We'll start with that. The other is they're going to compare that with levelized capacity and compare that with minimum inventory. Well, first level capacity. So let's come back here. With level capacity, we could do that a number of ways. We could make all the FTEs equal to 35 or all the regular times equal to the max. Okay, but we'll still use the minimum cost because it'll give me overtime where I need it. Because if I sum, look, if I sum the regular time, 54,600, the demand is 57,200. I don't have enough regular time to satisfy demand, so I need overtime. Well, the definition of level capacity, capacity is not overtime. Capacity is irregular time, because capacity is the same thing as the FTEs. So I could either set the regular time equal to the 4550, or I could set the FTEs equal to 35. Either one. Okay. Well, if I did, I would have to take the regular time. You know, I'd have to change that then. So I'm going to take my regular time. I'm going to take the solver. I'm going to add a constraint. I'm going to add my regular time here, those variables, and set them equal to my regular time max. Say OK. And and solve this thing. And so there I've got my, notice I have level capacity. My rigor time is maxed out. Okay, that plus my overtime is my production plan. I don't even have my production plan in there. I guess I could put it in there. But it's tied in because of my ending inventory. Beginning inventory plus my production, which is rigor time production and overtime production, minus my demand equals my ending inventory. And I do that, I go all the way down each time. So there's my level capacity. Okay, so I can take this right here, Control C, come down here, right click and just paste the values. Okay, and call this my level capacity. So there's my level capacity right there. Let's center these, format them a little bit, or however you want to format them. Okay, then we come back and then we have minimum inventory. Okay, well, let's see, how would we do that? Well, I left that pretty much open because there really is, what does that mean? Do I minimize, let's close this out. Do I minimize my ending inventory? Do I minimize my average inventory? I could set a cap. Let me just say a cap here. Let me just put a 0. And I can have a constraint where all my ending inventory will be less than or equal to that cap, and have that a constraint. Okay, and minimize the cap. Well, we could do that. What I decided to do, what I did, I took the solver. I went back to my, this is level capacity, so I had to go back to E and G here. Right here, here's E and G, and delete that. So it goes back to minimum cost. Then I solve it, it goes back to my minimum cost. But I can say, well, now my minimum inventory. To make it simple, let's just minimize the average inventory. Instead of minimizing the total cost, minimize the average inventory. Okay, I could solve that, and I think that's what I did. I went to 493. Not much of it. See, before it was, well, we don't have it here. It was 5 something or 6 something. It didn't reduce it that much. So as it turns out, the minimum cost and the level minimum inventory are very, very close to one another. The level capacity is not. Okay, so we know this is our version of minimum inventory. So let's take this, Control C to copy it, and then come down here and right click and paste the values and box them in, center them, and this is going to be minimum inventory. Okay, and this is my level capacity. So then we come back, we have to get our minimum back here, change this to here, and go back to my minimum. Good. So now I have my 3. So I have my min cost, I have my level capacity, and I have my min inventory. Okay, and I can pull these up. Here's my minimum cost. Here's my minimum or level capacity, and here's my minimum inventory. So there's the 3 costs right there, right? So we could take these and insert. I'll just do this quick one here, so we can see here. This is total cost. For your memos, you can take this. You can look at inventory cost. You can, because the inventory is where all the cost is. You can look at regular time graph. You can do an overtime graph. You can do inventory graph. You can combine them And when I post back my answers, I have a bunch of different graphs that I could pick from. But so you can see here, minimum cost, minimum inventory are very, very close. Okay, the level capacity, and this is why people are talking about it. Is wait a minute, I think we can lower the cost. They're right. Let's do minimum cost. No, let's do minimum inventory. Is there that much of a difference? Not really. There's not that much of a difference between the two. Of course, minimum cost will have a lower cost by 2.505 and 2.525. Okay, about $20,000 less, but you're in the 2.5 million here. So there's not that much of a difference, but this is 2.7 million, almost 2.8 million. So 2.78 million. So this is much higher. So there's where, that's why we're doing this in the first place, because they want to look at alternative plans to compare with this. And so here's one way to do it. Now, you can use this, or you can use, as I say, you can start using this. You will have regular time cost, overtime cost, inventory cost, all three of them together. However you want to do it, this is the computation. From this, you can determine the however you want to present it. So the memo is all about communications. So I hope this helps. This is really all I have for the Memo 3 to set it up. I hope this helps. And so between now and the next time I see you, be safe out there and take care.